it's so hard for a guitar to pass the couch test, which is
Oh yeah.
like the problem with like I drive people crazy because like I have a lot of guitars, but like really most of the time I'm playing them on the fucking couch in front of the TV.
Yeah.
So it's so quiet. You're like they're not plugged in. You hear every buzz and
Oh,
rattle.
yeah.
Yeah, you plug it in, you don't hear some of
You
the
don't hear
stuff
this,
anymore.
and so like
yeah.
I will zero in on like the 10th fret of the A string
Yeah,
buzzes.
yeah.
And if I was actually playing in a situation, it wouldn't matter. But like, so that's what drives me crazy and why I'm always bringing stuff back.
Yeah. I do like I'm kind of a man of contradictions with this because like on the one hand I'm like, oh, this has to be a certain perfect way, like, oh, the window was open last night and changed everything or whatever. But then at the same time, I'm the laziest person ever about changing strings because I'm like, oh, these strings are dead, I'll just put more treble on and it'll be fun.
If you had to get a guitar logo tattooed, which I was thinking about this.
A Cindy.
Oh, you get a Cindy?
Yeah.
I'm like, he's gonna say
Just
Cindy
Cindy.
just to say Cindy.
I would probably get one of the two not that great French guitar companies, like Vigier. that would be the hippest thing ever if I had a Vigier. They're like this French metal company. Like the dude, doesn't the dude from Voivod play Vigier, Dave?
I don't think I've even seen them.
No, he plays I could look it up.
Lag? No,
the Voivod Chewy from Voivod plays like a very small builder. I could look at it. Let me look it
up. So, oh wow, we're getting our guest today. I just want to do a quick change here, but he has a lot of tattoos.
Do any of us have tattoos? I don't have any tattoos. I worked with some of the biggest tattoo guys.
Really?
For a while, yeah.
Oh, Paul Booth. Yeah.
Paul Booth, Yomiko Moreno, Darwin Enriquez.
You worked with Paul Booth?
For years, yeah. Wow. I've known him since I was like 17.
Wow. Do you know Maria Ferrero?
Maybe.
Metal Maria?
Maybe. I'm bad with names.
Oh, Bond Instruments.
Oh, okay.
That's what Chewy plays.
So
Chewy from Voivod.
No, what was it?
Oh, Bond Instruments.
Bond?
That's right.
Oh.
So our guest today
he's not here yet.
He's not here. He'll probably be here in like 2 minutes. So he seems like a punctual chap. He has a lot of tattoos. We'll ask if he has any guitar brands tattooed.
Well, I don't know why I think this. You know, it's just like it's counterintuitive because you think I'd love guitars so much that of course I would want like just guitar. You know why I don't like it? I think it invites conversation from people you don't want to talk to.
Yes.
It's like wearing a Pantera shirt. I love Pantera and I have a Pantera shirt, but I know anyone that's going to approach me while I'm in my Pantera shirt is probably not someone I want to talk to.
It's also, I think, probably...
Even though let me be clear, I love Pantera.
It's probably like holiday trauma. Like how many Christmases did you get like, here's a mug with a guitar on it? Or like, here's a tie.
Well, it's the other thing. Yeah, if somebody knows that you're into guitars or something, at some point you're going to get some kind of guitar present that you don't want.
Exactly.
But it's not a guitar thing. Yeah. It's a guitar on something.
Well, then you can't get rid of it either. I can never get rid of anything
that people give you.
Because I'm like, oh, that was so thoughtful.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you buy me
the same way.
a tie with Stratocasters on it, I'll fucking throw it out.
Yeah. It's like a piano key tie or something. Yeah. What I have some friends that are musicians, and one of them is like conductor, like a world famous conductor, not to brag, and so whatever. I mean for him, right? But I'm bragging by association. And as you know, I paint random objects, including one of your guitars. And they wanted me to paint a mailbox, and I was like, oh, should I do anything like personalize it in any way? And she's like, well, I don't know, like we're musicians, but like, oh, we've had every manner of thing with like a a bass clef and like different.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think so.
Maybe just the number.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about that too. Instead of getting a tattoo with even the wood burning that I do, I get that all the time in the shop. People are like, "Oh, are you into tattoos?" And I gotta go over the whole thing. Well, I worked with the guys that are big with the tattoos, but I don't have any and whatever.
Oh, it's go time.
It's go time.
I didn't know he was just gonna just kick our ass right away.
Oh my God. Are we live streaming right now? Because if we are, let me tell you something.
Best entry ever. Imagine a world where only guitars mattered.
We've done a number of episodes and no one. And now I'm wondering why everyone. The first thing you should do is just fucking come in and just start ripping.
I thought this was a fucking guitar show. What are we doing? Yeah. What was the little pitch email that you sent me the other day? Tom said something like, "Imagine a world where only guitar matters." I was like, "Imagine it. I live in it." What are we talking about?
You have not probably met my co-hosts Cindy Hullage and Dave Hill.
Hey there.
Hey, Chris.
Hello.
Cindy builds guitars, and Dave is a comedian, actor, guitar shredder.
Oh, I've seen some of Dave's work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Or no, I should say I'm sorry.
And Cindy, you're a luthier, is that right?
Yeah, I've been building a bit over 12 years now at Carmine Street Guitars,
wow.
but the guy I work with is Rick Kelly, and he's been building since about 1968.
What kind of stuff do you guys do?
All custom builds.
Oh wow.
You got to get
Anything you can dream
Cool.
of.
I'm
really.
fishing for a free guitar. Let's
talk about it.
Well, if I could describe as someone who owns, I have two Kelly guitars. I'd say they're inspired by sort of classic or traditional guitars, but then they go off into a world of insanity
Yeah.
as well.
And I do a lot of like custom work. We were just talking about. I do a lot of wood burning and custom stuff for people
cool.
if they want it. But it's all old New York City building wood from the 1800s. So we have wood from like the Chelsea Hotel,
Really?
Trinity Church, Jim Jarmusch's loft,
Wow.
Chumley's, McSorley's.
How did you get all that old wood?
So a lot of dumpster diving, people tipping us off if they see the wood being, it's like just the ends of the buildings rot. It's a lot of like roof rafters and floor joists and stuff. So if they rot a little bit and somebody needs an inspection, they'll take the whole beam out just to replace it. So
pardon my ignorance here, but were buildings in the 1800s built with the same types of wood that guitars are generally built with? Like, because what are guitars are like alder and ash and stuff like that, right?
Right. Yeah. We're known for the pine, actually. Most of New York City, Brooklyn, it's all these, the conifers are the oldest in the world, and they grow the straightest in grain because of how they're shaped. So they're trees that grew for 800 to 1,000 years, got cut down back then, brought down the Hudson in the log runs, and then built New York City. So they were expanding and contracting through the summers and the winters for another 100 to 200 years in these buildings, and then they're out. So there's no toasting, roasting, any of that stuff. This is all natural, sort of just seasoning and everything. So it's different stuff. We're known for pine on pine, but we have a lot of old growth stuff. We've got old hard rock maple. We've got Carina from the Gibson factory from back in the 70s. We've got Gaboon ebony, Brazilian rosewood, all that stuff.
You get arrested for that shit. Watch out.
Yeah, you can't bring that out of country.
What, Chris? What is that? You have a flying V.
Yes.
What's
this?
Is that neon yellow? It's hard to
tell.
No,
it's I don't know what the official color is. It's white, but it's faded a little bit over time. It's got a little yellowing on it. This isn't vintage or anything. I got this in, I don't know, the early-ish 2000s, something like that.
It's like 25 years old, man.
Wow, yeah. I know, isn't that sad?
It's crazy. Yeah.
That's right. It is very vintage now. No, I got a couple of Flying V's around the same time. I got a black one first, and when I got this one, it actually had, and I probably should have left it on there, the pick guard. I remember my tech ordered it for me from Gibson, and he was like, the only one they have right now has like a mirrored pick guard. I was like, great, I'll take it. But it didn't really fit what we do in the Foo Fighters. It was a little more Paul Stanley than that, you know. But I should have left it on. I swapped it out for a black one.
That's a good guitar.
Yeah. Flying V's are funny, man. Some of these guitars, like Flying V's and Explorers, that you think are just these goofy, like, you know, you associate them with heavy metal and 80s rock and all that stuff, are actually some of the most comfortable guitars to play. I mean, you can't really sit down with one of these things, but they really sound amazing. They feel great. They're especially like the V's and the Explorers. There's just like a balance to them that I don't know. It's really nice.
I love these. Like it, and I used to complain that I have a V that I play all the a Dunable Asteroid, and which is a V shaped instrument. I'm just trying to avoid lawsuits for them, but and I was like, oh man, I can't sit down playing this thing, and then I was like yelling at myself, get it together. You should be standing up to rock.
Right.
So that's I'm like now I'm even I play it on stage all the time, but even at home I'm like I'm just standing up rocking.
Yeah. Well, and you know, honestly, that's like for guitar people starting out, like it's actually really good advice because it is really different sitting down and standing up. Like playing live is a very different. You could sit in your room all day and work stuff out, and then you go out to do it live, and yeah, just the angle of your arm and where you hold it and all, it can fuck you up. Stuff that you can very comfortably do alone in your bedroom is much harder to do on stage oftentimes if you're not used to it.
Especially if you use like one of those little footstools, you know, practicing.
Yeah. That's right.
Classical stuff, like optical.
Well, then the danger though with that is then you get the guys who go like, well, yeah, I should have it be exactly how it is when I'm home practicing. And then they come out and they have the guitar up here, which historically only one hand you can count anyone who's ever looked cool doing that.
Yeah, nobody's ever. Well, it's funny because that's like when I was growing up, you wanted to have your guitar as low as humanly possible. You know, you wanted that like,
yes.
You know, that was like the thing that was cool. And it makes me laugh because I'm short, you know, and so guitars always looked big on me anyway. But for my guitar has crept up quite a bit over the years because I realized at a certain point, it just looks like I've got like my dad's guitar on. Like I've got daddy's guitar. It didn't look like Joe Perry. It made me look like I was like, you know, just it worked into the opposite. It was like made me look dorkier. I figured out after like 30 years of playing it way too low. I was like, I'm just going to kind of notch this up a little bit.
And it sort of became socially acceptable. Like maybe it was the Strokes or something. They like just went super high.
Well,
and now you can average it out.
Yeah, but those guys,
indie bands did that for sure.
Yeah, but only the Strokes pulled it off, and the rest of them was just like, nope.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that it's, you know, wherever Johnny Thunders held his guitar is probably that's like the optimum ideal guitar placement.
Or Steve Jones.
Steve Jones.
He was not super low.
Yeah.
I don't think he's super. Which I wanted to ask you a question because in the interview with you, you talked about
what interview?
Oh,
Dave, Tom did his research, so he prepared some questions.
No, this is a semantic argument I'm having. I thought he said the interview.
Gotcha.
Well, I was like, you're referring to a specific interview.
I thought he meant when I interviewed him, so I think we were all confused.
Yeah. It was what the
Tom,
fuck?
what are you doing?
I'm fucking everything up.
We're not editing this out either.
So, but you say that on your wall you had pictures of Randy Rhoads and Steve Jones.
Yes.
And to me, that's like the yin and the yang of the white Les Paul Custom.
Totally.
And
whoa.
And I want to just say one thing because I'm going to talk about me for 1 second.
Fine.
And then I'm going to kick it to you because that's more important. I was playing in a band with Dave and we were opening for Monster Magnet.
Yes.
And the only time I've ever been on stage and had somebody in the audience compliment me on my guitar was when I was playing a 77 white Les Paul Custom.
Wow.
You have one. Is it like have you always wanted one? Have you owned many? Is it like your favorite? Do you think it's the coolest looking guitar ever?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I wanted one from a very young age. Certainly settled on wanting a white one because of Randy Rhoads, no question. But so many, Steve Jones and a million other people have played those guitars. But I always just wanted a Les Paul, period. And that was not my white Les Paul. I didn't get that till I joined Foo Fighters. But the first real good guitar I ever got was a Les Paul for my 15th birthday. And that was like the only guitar I had for a very long time. So that's definitely kind of the starting point of electric guitar for me, as far as like going and playing in my first bands and, doing all that stuff.
How old were you when you started?
Well, I started playing when I was 11, and I was just using my brother's old Epiphone acoustic for my early lessons, and then my mom bought me this Takamine, kind of Explorer shape that I had for a couple of years. But then the first time I ever played with other people was in 8th grade, so I was like about 13, and then we put a band together for my 9th grade talent show, and when I was about 14. And for that gig, I actually borrowed my older brother Mike's, both of his guitars, one of which was a 63 SG. It was beautiful. The other one was like a late 70s Strat. And I borrowed those guitars for the gig, left them at my high school auditorium, and somebody ripped them off. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
And then I got that Les Paul not long, the next school year. I don't remember what I played in the interim. I guess I still had that Takamine. But see, even then for my 9th grade talent show, I knew that my brother's SG was way cooler than the Takamine.
Did you ever see those Takamine acoustic flying Vs? Have you ever seen one of those?
No.
What?
From like 1980, 81, 82.
Oh.
No.
Go on Yeah, they
I
made
wonder if we had one of those come into the shop.
They made an
We might
acoustic
have.
flying V.
Yeah. Takaminis aren't bad guitars, but it's no white Les Paul. For
No.
sure.
What year is yours?
The white one is I want to say it's like an 89 or a 91 or something like that. I probably told you this, or maybe you read in whatever the interview was. That guitar actually Dave bought for me the day after I joined Foo Fighters, because I only had the one Les Paul, which is like a 82 Black Beauty, and he was like, "You're gonna need some more guitars," and so we went guitar shopping the next morning, and he bought me that one and also the white Explorer that I have. And both of them are around 89 or 91, 90. They're in that day. So, at the time that would have been 99. It's not like they weren't like vintage. And I laugh about it now because like I was never a gearhead. I think because I was like insecure that I didn't know anything about gear. And also I didn't have any money to buy any gear. And so I was just talking about this with my brother, Scott.
Is he the guy whose SG you lost?
No, that was my brother, Mike.
Okay.
The lost SG thing has been a mystery for years because I remembered it wrong. This is how not focused on gear we were. So my brother got that guitar for Christmas or something in the late 70s. And I remember it being a 63 SG, but I didn't really remember anything about it. And I was asking Pat about it because I want to go find like that, the same one, and I described it to him. I said it had PAFs, 63 SG, and he goes, "Did it have a tremolo?" I go, "No." He goes, "They didn't make them. They all came standard with it.
Yeah.
If it had the PAFs, it
would have a vibrola.
Right, exactly. So it was this mystery, and I was thinking, even for years I thought, how would we have known? Maybe it was a 66, and the guy that sold it to him said it was just, who knows? Nobody knew anything back then.
People. To use some saucy French, people gave zero fucks.
Right.
So they would just feel like a tailpiece.
And that was
thing.
like before the vintage guitar market was even much of a thing, like that. I never heard anybody talk about vintage guitars when I was a kid. I don't know exactly when that became as sought after.
Yeah, that's weird. It's like the internet, like all things.
Yeah.
The internet ruined that.
100%. I was just talking to my brother Mike, whose guitar it was the other day, and I said, "Yeah, I've been trying to solve this for years." And I was even thinking about maybe I should call Joe Bonamassa. I bet he could figure this out. I bet he knows the you know how it could have possibly been.
Probably owns it.
He probably has it yeah, for real. And if we only knew the serial number, then I guess we could figure that out. But so I was talking to my brother about it. I go, you know, didn't it had humbuckers, right? He goes, are humbuckers black? I go, not usually. He goes, no, I think they were black. I go, oh, were they P90s? He goes, yeah, it had a dot neck, it had the black pickups. Oh, it solved everything. I go, that was like the standard SG at that point.
It was SG special.
Right. Yeah. So that
God.
I can go find. Now I have to go find my brother that guitar and buy it for him.
Well, that's also a lot better because that's probably like now like a $8,000 guitar, and the other one's like a $36,000 guitar. So you just saved
different.
yourself like
Oh, yeah.
25 grand.
Right. Yeah, but back to like when Dave bought me that white Les Paul, like I didn't know anything about gear. I didn't know which year was sought after. I didn't, you know, I knew like the 59 or whatever, but we weren't going to go shopping for that. So I didn't know, because you know, like companies like Gibson and Fender, all that, there's like periods where they were not as good and less sought after, and periods that obviously everybody fiends over. But I didn't know anything about anything back then, and it really in the last like 10 years I started to pay closer attention to gear and all. You know, I still can't keep track of that stuff though. Like I know what I like, and I kind of know how to make the stuff that I like sound the way I want it to sound, but I don't. Like I can't keep track of like what kind of tubes are in my Marshall or what, you know, all that kind of like that level of geardom. I'm just not good at, and I'm kind of like that with everything. I like doing it more than worrying about all that shit.
Well, you know, it doesn't have anything to do. The thing is, like, you have to come to terms with. I think Dave and I have sort of come to terms with this. It has nothing to the guitar thing and the music thing are not really related that much. Like the desire,
Like
the obsession with guitars.
Oh, you know, I mean, I noticed a long time ago, and this isn't universally true because there's people that that have both of these strengths, but more often than not, the people out there that are like gear butt nuts can't play. And I clocked that when I was a kid, so that always kind of turned me off. Like, you're fucking, you know, you're jive. You're just talking about, you know, the nuances of this pedal with the script versus that one because you can't fucking play. Yeah, I always took pride in like I go fucking straight in, you know what I mean? And that's how I did it for years, you know. And I think that honestly, like it's cool. Like I like messing around with pedals and gear and trying to learn about more of that stuff. But I think when you're starting out, it does you some good to keep it real simple and try to keep it in your hands. You know, like I never had like channel changers. Everything was volume knob rides and you know, it's a solo. I'm going to stick it on the middle pickup because it just sounds different. It's going to give it a different color, and, you know, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you like this whole thing? Our basic concept for this whole podcast, before we dragged Cindy down with us, was that like Dave and I basically
fun.
2-3 times a day we have a text exchange which starts out with either him or me going, bro. And then you wait for the other person to answer.
It's just like a smack in the face. Like, cause like, it's not just like, hey, you want to get lunch?
Yeah.
Like you better pay attention to what's coming.
And then once you answer bro back, inevitably the next thing that happens is a link to like Reverb.
Right.
And then the response almost always is do it.
Right.
Whatever. We're just here to support each other's bad decisions.
100%. Yeah.
And I feel like you pull the trigger way more than I do.
I think that from what
Tom
I've
had to delete his Reverb app.
I took the Reverb app off my phone, but I feel like from some of the things that I've poked around that you have that relationship with Pat from the Foo Fighters, because you're always like, I texted Pat about this guitar. Is he your guitar enabler?
100%. And Pat buys a lot of guitars. Pat likes the weird guitars, so he tends to go for the weird ones. But he's always looking around, so he's always coming across stuff, and he sends me a lot of stuff. And then even like when we were in Chicago on tour not too long ago, we went into Chicago Music Exchange and like, you know, I get like, I've never been somebody that buys a lot of guitars. I mean, I do have a lot of guitars, but I'm not like, I'm not always buying and searching in that way. So, I don't know. I can't get over a guitar costing more than like $500. Like it freaks me out. You know what I mean? Because that was sort of that was like the bar. Like an expensive guitar when I was a kid was around $500, and that seemed unattainable then. So like these guitars that go for 25 grand, 50 grand, like I still, even if I could afford it, I don't know. Like I'm not drawn to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we went to Chicago Music Exchange, and if I hadn't have been with Pat, I wouldn't have bought anything. But because he's there going, dude, you got to get it. I'm like, here's my Amex. Woo! Don't tell my wife.
Well, what do you guys? I've seen photos of your studio, and it's just like just cases for miles. Like, how do you would you guys share all the guitars, or is like, do you stay away from those?
Probably not a whole. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty open policy as far as like if we're like making a record or something, you know, like anybody uses anything. But yeah, there's not as much guitar sharing as you would think. I don't know why. Sometimes if a guitar's just sitting there, I'll play it. I like playing all Pat's weird guitars, and Dave has all those beautiful Trinis that are awesome. But yeah, we don't share as much as you would think. Yeah, that's weird.
It's so weird that the Beatles did. Like, they were the biggest band in the world, and they had one Strat that they passed around. They had blue Strat.
That's power.
They had one. They're like, oh, you take it now. Oh, we couldn't have two of them.
I think my favorite Foo Fighters guitar, if I'm remembering correctly, I saw a photo of Dave years ago on stage with Dean Dimebag, like, you know, Dime Slime guitar or whatever, with the hang tag from the store still on it, which I was like, that is high art.
Yeah.
I love those guitars, but I was like, the hang tag.
He's got that Dale Earnhardt Jr. Les Paul somewhere too. That dude gave him years ago. But he actually did play that for a while there. But it's got all this like NASCAR stuff on it. It's really heavy.
I remember those. Those were like that. Yeah, they're very intense.
Yeah, I remember that. And then I'll stop just going down the list. But then there's also the didn't he buy like Fast Eddie Clark's guitar?
Yeah, I think it's a V. Yeah, it's not a Gibson.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's around too.
I remember seeing that, and I was like, nice.
But your conversion, quote unquote, burst, that was not a $500 guitar. Was that like hard for you to buy? You have, what is it, a 52?
No, it's not a conversion. It's what it is. It's a 50. It's a 57 that started as a gold top, and then somebody took the paint off. So it's a weird guitar, and it's got a funky headstock repair. But the story with that was I did a Reverb artist store and sold like 20 guitars, and I was thinking I wanted to get like 2 really good guitars. So I sold all these guitars and made a nice chunk of change, and then just had a big credit. This is the way you do it. I had a big credit, and then I went into Chicago Music Exchange on tour again, whenever that was, a few years ago, and you know, my credit was for X amount of dollars. So they started pulling out guitars that were like twice the credit. You know, I was like, whoa. Yeah, hold on. Like, there's not one, you know, I was like, I want to get a couple of guitars. But so we wound up settling on that Les Paul, which is amazing. I mean, it's, you know, it's the best Les Paul I've got for sure. But it was exactly for the credit. So I didn't feel it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I had all these guitars sitting around that I'd bought years ago. So, you know what I mean? Like I didn't feel like I didn't have to write a check. You know what I mean? I didn't have to have that conversation with my accountant. You know, it was like, that's, I think that's the best way to do it. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to unload another 20 guitars that I don't use and try to get like, now I got that Les Paul. Now I need to get like a really high end Strat or something, you know?
So you can go to, because Chicago Music Exchange, I know, started Reverb, but you can go there and use your Reverb credit.
I did at the time, yeah.
You're like, I can, because I'm Chris.
Yeah, I mean, that's they let me do it then. Yeah, I think it's the same company, isn't it?
Well, I think they got bought by Etsy.
I didn't even know that.
What?
Oh yeah, a couple of years ago or something.
This
actually.
is
I knew that part.
When I heard that they owned, or Chicago Music Exchange and Reverb, or that they owned, in my mind, everything you see on Reverb is upstairs from Chicago Music Exchange, just in like
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
in like a one-bedroom apartment they have. That's part of the deal of having that building. Like everything is up just right up there.
Yeah.
I did a back channel thing with Chris.
What's that?
Like I prepped something before the interview.
Is it a surprise birthday thing?
Yes.
It's not my
One of us
birthday,
is
but I
gonna
just-
one of us is gonna
What?
be really happy. One of us might be devastated.
Okay.
So I told
I feel like I know how this is going to shake out already.
I told Chris that we own between us the Warren DeMartini Cross Swords and the Warren
Oh.
DeMartini Blood and Skulls. He doesn't know who owns what,
Here we go.
but I want him to rule
Oh,
on which
wow.
one is cooler.
Oh my gosh, this is really.
I'm playing with fucking fire.
Well, okay, so he did ask me to rule on this, but he did not tell me who owned what, nor did he even suggest which one he thought was cooler, which would obviously give that away. So do you have a photo of those guitars? Because I think I remember them off the top of my head, but maybe we should see photographic evidence to really,
Oh wait,
Oh, let's see.
There.
Okay.
Okay, the main question I would ask here. Well, I mean, I'm just going to rule. I would look at this from the viewpoint of which one of those guitars was older, like the ones that Warren has. Which one did he have first? Do you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do I know? the Blood and Skulls is in the Round and Round video, albeit with a different neck.
Okay.
But that was his first.
Gotcha. Who makes those? Are those Charvels or something?
Those are Charvels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, based on that, I'd probably have to go Skull and Crossbones. But really, in my heart, I'm going Swords.
I feel like you couldn't possibly have given a better answer, and not because I won, but
You won.
because you said exactly how. That's exactly how I feel about it. Even though I do have the Swords guitar, I'm always comforting. I think telling you that you have the OG Warren guitar, and I think it's just as cool, even though it really isn't.
It's right. It's more historically significant, but the design is inferior.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, a buddy of mine back in those days when everybody was painting their guitars, their Super Strats or whatever that way, tried to get, God, what was it? A Jackson or a Charvel or something. He tried to get, this is the most 80s thing ever, tried to get them to paint a Nagel on it. You remember?
Oh,
you remember Nagels?
Mhm. Yes.
Wait, what is that?
That's like the cover of Rio by.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like they would be like in the lobby of an office.
Exactly. Or a fancy hotel or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they,
I think CC DeVille had one.
Yes.
oh really? Wow. They would, because they wouldn't make one for my friend back then because of copyright infringement. I tell you what, I tried to get on one of my signature models. I tried to get Fender under where the neck bolts on to stick the Arsenal cannon.
Oh yeah, you're a big Arsenal. Is that an Arsenal jersey behind you?
It is, yeah. It is. Which over there, yeah. Indeed, yeah. So, but they wouldn't do it for that reason too. Like, I was like, but no one would even know it's there. It's like a little Easter egg that only we will know about, and you'll only ever know if you take the neck off, and nobody ever takes the neck off. So, but they wouldn't do it.
I would do it.
Well, let's go.
What would you do hypothetically? I don't know if you've taken the necks off, but what if you took the neck off and it was a Manchester United logo?
I would know that somebody had a really good sense of humor at the Fender factory. That would be. I'd have to go touche. Well played, Leo Fender.
So yeah, you have 2 podcasts. Can you tell us how to do a podcast?
Well, you're on the right track with this one using Riverside. How great is Riverside? That's like such a game changer.
Pretty good.
Yeah. We've had some because I used to use Zoom once things went into Zoom territory with my old podcast, Walking the Floor. But with Shred with Shifty, we've always used Riverside, and we've had some real Wi-Fi nightmare moments that were totally fine. You know, because of the way that it uploads locally, you know, like when I interviewed Brad Whitford from Aerosmith, he was in Nashville, and I think there was a storm or something. Like, it was working fine at first, but then by the end of it, we had this crazy like 20 or 30-second latency where I would ask a question, like he wouldn't hear me ask the question. For it just fucked the whole thing up towards the end.
Did you think he was stroking out at first?
We're gonna edit. We'll edit that.
No comment. Yeah, and I mean, really, I got off that call and I just thought, oh man, that's like, we're gonna have to. Even Graham, his son, that helped me set it up, was like, we can redo that if you want. And then we watched the footage and we were able to just edit it together, and nobody was ever the wiser. So yeah, it's good.
I've been listening repeatedly to Toys in the Attic recently, and I think it might be like top 5 like guitar interplay albums of all. It is the weirdest shit, and it's so amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, those, I don't know, all those early records, rocks. I like to put on rocks and just walk around at night alone, imagining all the fights that I would get into and win.
Man, if somebody fucked with me right now, I'd be fired up.
Yeah, like bring it on.
Well, for me, that's actually my favorite era of guitar tone. Period. Like I just interviewed Michael Schenker the other day for my show, and so I just went down a Michael Schenker, specifically the UFO years, like rabbit hole. And
what did he show you? Like rock bottom? Like what did he show you?
Well, funnily enough, he wouldn't show me anything, which was hilarious. If you know the premise of my show, it's that we break down somebody's guitar solo, and when we got to that part, and funnily enough, at their request, I mean, I get supposedly at his request, this came through his publicist, because I want to do Lights Out, I want to do that, but we got word back from his publicist saying Michael would rather do Only You Can Rock Me, because Lights Out was totally improvised, and Only You Can Rock Me was more sort of like composed, and it's that whole all that stuff, you know what I mean? Which clearly it's like worked out, you know what I mean? And so I'm interviewing him, and we get to that part in the interview, and if it's Michael Schenker, he's like to me, he's like one of the best guitar, he's on the Mount Rushmore of guitar players, just for me. So I was excited, and you're going to get what you're going to get. And we all know his sort of reputation for being a little, can be difficult or whatever. So we get to that part, and I start asking him questions specifically, like, like as we do on the show, so where were you fretting that? And what were, what are you doing? And he just said something like, it would be impossible for me to explain that to you, because I was improvised and I was expressing myself artistically. I was like, okay.
Like, well, let me rephrase that. How do you play it every night on tour?
Right. Well, so what I finally landed on, after I was like, trying to like come at from a different angle, I said, well, how slow can you play it right now? And then I got him to play it as slow as he could. And I said, all right, well, people can just watch that. And then even a little later in the interview, I said, well, there's a part in the Lights Out, so I just wanted to ask you about it. It's kind of a signature thing that you do. And he did the same thing. I'm just like, no, it's impossible. And because I'm expressing myself. So I finally landed, I go, hey, man, can you express yourself right now? And then that worked. I got him to play. I was like, people are going to kill me if you don't play on the show. Like, that's why people are tuning in.
I'm always amazed. Michael Schenker doesn't use his pinky ever.
Really?
Ever.
If you watch, he's almost, I've seen him. I don't think he ever frets ever with his pinky.
Really?
I don't know what my point is, but
have you ever seen the Schenker Brothers Dean?
They have a Schenker Brothers Dean?
Yes, it's. I would argue. This is my area of my expertise. Yes, they have Rudolph and Michael Schenker, who famously, I don't think have spoken in years. There was a Dean that is made to look like it's pyrography. What you do, Cindy. I don't know why I explained to you when I said the word, you knew what I meant. But like it's burned their faces and all this Schenker related stuff on it. There's flames, as you would hope there would be, and I think it's really expensive, but
it's like $7,000. If you text me and ask me if you should get it, I'll totally tell you should get it.
I've seen it before.
Are you enjoying? I mean, it's weird. You've put yourself. I mean, I've been doing this since.
Can you hold that?
Yeah.
I'm not ready to move on from the Schenker brothers.
I'm not
Dean yet.
Oh yeah.
So it also says Schenker on the neck, I believe, in mother of pearl type inlay.
Look at that. I encourage all four of us to go buy those.
Yes.
It's that intersection of do you have thousands of extra dollars to throw around? Do you love both Schenker brothers? Then yeah, there's the Venn diagram. It's not
the
a bit
intersectionality.
Yeah, I'm ticking all those boxes, man.
What's the difference between, like, physically between playing in a club and more arena versus stadium? Is it like a very different experience on stage in terms of like what you're hearing, what you're feeling, what gear you use?
Oh, 100%. In terms of what you're hearing and feeling, yes, very, very different. The smaller and more intimate a show is, it's just so much more immediate. When you think of those really big shows, especially when you think about stadiums or big festivals, you're actually really far from the people most of the time, you know.
Mhm.
So, and in a big crowd like that it becomes like you don't see the individuals. It's a mass, and it's this mass energy, and it really is like a jet engine going off in your face. It's crazy. It's just different. I find the smaller shows to be way more nerve-wracking,
especially if there's people you know in the audience.
Oh yeah.
Because then
The intimate
I
ones.
mean, and that's a sidebar to the whole thing, man. That's why playing at home is always so challenging, because all your friends and family are there, and they're like, I know you're acting out there. What are you doing? Why are you acting like that?
I hate it. Anytime I do a show back in Cleveland, I'm just like screaming. My sister and her friends and two guys that I haven't seen since high school, who are just like, oh, maybe we'll check this out. I'm like, there'll be 5 people, all just scrutinizing. Ugh.
Oh, dude, and that really, I mean, when you're a band that has a fan base, you know, it doesn't really matter what size, but like if you're in a room that's full, and it's full of people that want to hear your music and know your music, that is a very, very different feeling than playing in a half-empty room to people that don't know your music. That's
my entire touring experience.
Yeah. When people know your music, you always got to remember, like, they pay their money. They want to have a great time. They're very forgiving. You can fall on your face and they're going to love, you know, like they want you to succeed. They're rooting for you. As opposed to trying to win a crowd over that maybe you're like a noisy nuisance in the corner. You know what I mean? That's a different thing.
On wing night.
Yeah, exactly. On wing night. I remember playing a gig, and this wasn't that long ago. This was like with my solo thing, not that long ago, at a place up on the Central Coast in like a sports bar or something. And they had huge TVs all over, and it was Shark Week. And they had Shark Week on the TVs. And like it's up, and then nobody came to the show. There's like a handful of people. Like I wanted to watch Shark Week more than I wanted to play too. You know what I mean? Like it just killed the freaking gig. You know, it was just terrible.
And you can't, like, in those. I've been in those situations. Be like, hey, could you maybe turn the sound down on Shark Week just while during the show? Like, well, yeah, but then people won't know what kind of shark it is.
But no, I'm going to dig in on this because it's a serious question I have.
Okay.
So, like, my friend Ben, he's in this band Pretty Reckless. Yep. They just spent the whole summer opening for AC/DC in stadiums. And he came back telling me that Angus has 18 live cabinets.
Really? That he's really using?
Yeah, 18 live cabinets on stage. like when are you those amps behind you? Do you even hear them on like a stadium stage? Like because back in the day, of course, which is why everybody is deaf, they were actually using that sound to get to the audience. But like, do you get anything?
We're pretty loud on stage, you know, probably comparable to a lot of other bands that are playing the same type of venues because, you know, a lot of people nowadays are using amp simulators, or at the very least their amps and their cabinets are off stage or somewhere else or that sort of thing. And we've got all our stuff right up there with us, and it's loud because, you know, it's tube amps. You got to have them at a certain volume to get them to, you know, heat up the way you want them to. The toughest thing, I wear in-ears on stage nowadays. I didn't for a long time, but I do now. And it's tough because we're loud and everything's loud. I'm loud, Pat's loud, Dave's loud, you know, we're all loud. And so, and I have a vocal mic to go sing like backup vocals and harmonies and stuff. And that was really hard. That creates a real problem because you're pulling all this noise into your vocal mic. So most of what I would wind up hearing, and I also, like, for me, I have to have my vocal like way above everything else to be comfortable, you know?
So you're hearing like your guitar sound through an SM58,
and not just mine, but everybody else's guitar sound too. So it would that would dominate my.
I've made it to stadiums, and this is what I get to hear.
It's nuts, you know. But so, and I tried all kinds of. I tried, you know, I tried using little cabinets, you know, and single speaker cabinets, and all this stuff, and none of it really worked for me. But until we found this thing, somebody on our crew found this little laser sensor that's, if you look at my mic on stage now, there's a little laser sensor on top of it. So when I get within a certain range, it'll turn it on, and then I can sing my little backup part and then go away, and then it turns it off. And that was like a huge game changer. So now I've got most of what I'm hearing is coming through here. You know, there's going to be some bleed, but yeah.
Can that blind you?
The laser?
Yeah.
How great would that be? Yeah, if it was just aimed into my eyes, like just constantly chipping my teeth on the mic. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a funny story about an onstage laser that we had for a couple of tours ago. They were focusing one of the lasers, and it burned a fucking hole in my Vox cabinet, like in the mesh on it. And I was like, wait, we have lasers that'll do that? Like, that's an option? So I could get like shot through with the stage laser? Who knew?
That's an OSHA violation.
I know. Yeah.
That's crazy. Are you mentioned it, I don't know if you can talk about it. Are you moving forward with a new signature guitar?
Yeah, you know, we've been working on it. It's pretty much ready to go now, and it's an American-made version of my signature model. The one that, like, we did like the production model that was a Mexican-made one that was a sort of like a price point type of thing with humbuckers, and then I did this one that was like master built, super expensive version of that had P90s, and so this is like a production version of the P90 one, essentially.
I'm fishing for a free guitar right now. Yeah,
you got it. When Cindy sends me that old wood, you know, with the you know, whatever, with the Shark Week design burned into it, then we can talk.
So it's coming out.
It's coming out. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when. I don't know if that's going to be out this year or if that's going to be next year or what. But yeah, it's coming.
Are you using the noiseless Fralins in it?
Well, it's actually
it's so annoying.
This is true. Yeah, I was like,
We work with Lindy a lot.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Is us whenever he's in this city.
We have.
Let's go, Lindy, Cindy. I need some pickups.
We had the noiseless Lindy Fralins in the master built one, but in the production model, it's the pickups are based on that, but they're Fender made.
Got it.
Yeah. And then, you know, I A/B'd a couple, like they've sent me a few prototypes, and I always A/B it against the real one, and it's you know, to my ear, it's very, very close.
I mean, just having worked with customs and repairs and setups and stuff for as long as I have, and also Rick, I've heard a lot of stories and also experienced a lot in the shop and stuff. But I've heard some stories in terms of like the guitar tech sort of area of things, you know, whether it's replacing tuners and the guy drills through the headstock on accident or something, or like whatever. Was there anything on any of the tours or elsewhere with any of your builds that you just went like, what is happening with this, or somebody kind of screwing something up or something like that?
I don't want to throw anybody.
Well,
I
I
don't want
was
to throw
gonna
anybody
say
under the bus here,
everybody else
but
does,
but I will tell this story with love. My tech for a long time was my friend Sean. He still works with us, but he's not my tech anymore. But and not because of what I'm about to tell you. I want to make that clear. Years and years ago, this was relatively. I've probably been in Foos for a couple of years, so you know, had bought a couple of guitars along the way, and I was actually living in New York, and I bought I went to 30th Street Guitars and bought this old
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
beautiful.
That's our.
Oh,
place.
really? Yeah, I bought a beautiful
Yeah,
Gretsch Firebird. I think it was a Firebird, but a Gretsch Firebird, which is the guitar that Malcolm played. You know, it's that same. So you can imagine the shape and everything. And
Yeah.
it was an old one. It was vintage. It was beautiful. And you know, if you know anything about Gretches, they basically have their own built-in strap locks, right? You screw that thing off, stick the strap on, screw it back on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I brought that guitar to rehearsal or tour or whatever, and I handed it to my tech, and I was like, "Hey, can we put a strap on this and like get it ready to go?" And a little while later, he hands it back to me, and he has taken the strap lock out and stuck those black
The
ones
Shillers?
from Guitar Center. You know, they're like
Oh,
you know, the one like the flat black modern.
Yeah,
And I was just like, no. And luckily that was a simple fit. You just unscrew it and put the thing back in. But yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah,
get
yeah.
little moments like that every now and again.
Yeah.
You might have bought that guitar. That could have been my guitar.
What, for real?
Yeah. No, yeah, totally.
Really?
I definitely had a red. It's a red
It's
one.
red, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had one, and I definitely sold it, and it was probably through Matt. You know what Matt says about you know Matt, right? He's the owner of 30th Street.
I mean, I
Do you know
haven't
him?
been in there for a long time, but
He's our, but he says this thing about Gretchen Rickenbacker. He goes, Gretchen Rickenbacker, they always disappoint. Just because he feels like you always
Yeah.
buy them, and you're like, this is going to be the best thing.
Well,
ever.
that
I don't-
guitar has been, and I don't even know where it is now because I never play it. Now, there's a reason for it. It's because it's all the binding is so jacked that if you even look at it, the
Oh,
binding
yeah.
falls out.
Old ones.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I might have. God, I don't remember. I debated for years, like, should I just get this binding replaced so I can play this thing, or do I just leave it? I think I might have bastardized that thing and gotten the binding replaced, which I probably shouldn't have done, but whatever.
I think the thing with Gretsch and
Do you take
Rickenbacker-
issue about what I said?
No, I agree on some level, but the reason I agree is not because of the quality of the guitar. It's because the players that made those guitars famous, you get the guitar and you're like, why don't I sound like that guy?
Which for people listening that are just starting to play guitar, that's important to know. Getting the gear that your hero played does not make you play like your hero. A lesson I've learned many times. There's not one of my Eddie Van Halen MXR flangers has ever made me play like Eddie Van Halen. I have a Randy Rhoads guitar, amp, and pedal. None of those help me play any more closely like Randy Rhoads, and never have and never will.
You gotta find your own voice.
My finger picking didn't get any better when I got a
Yeah.
Gretsch. I was like, I'm going to be able to I'll play like Chet Atkins now.
Have you ever played one of those master built Gretches that what's the guy's name? Stern.
Steven Stern. Yes. Yeah,
Have you ever played one of those?
I
Because
haven't.
that is what I don't know what he did different than like how they were made, because they're just beautiful. I own one, and I've played a couple of them, and that is like, I always say that's it's like he righted all the wrongs, because like an old Gretsch, you pick up an old Gretsch and you feel like you can just crush it in your hands, you know what I mean? And whatever he does, man, those guitars are tanks. They're amazing.
One day when I was at Gretsch,
Whoa.
They were.
Where's that?
It's like in the Fender situation.
Okay, not
in
like
Corona.
real,
No,
because it was originally from
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But that was
But
a long time.
it was before they had put out the Malcolm Young guitars, and they had like one of the first like replica ones,
wow.
and they're like a thing. Like, dude, check this out, and it was like the coolest thing I've ever. It weighed 1 pound, but the best guitar, and I'm looking for it right now. And you just made me. This is how sick I am. You were talking about Steven Stern Gretsch. And like,
Do you have chills?
I had like a fucking minor anxiety attack because the best Gretsch I ever played, and I hope that I incite you into buying one, but I can't find one, is the Billy Zoom Tribute
Wait,
Silverjet,
oh,
which I had to review when I was a guitar aficionado. Like they sent it to
wow.
us, and it was like the Billy Zoom Gretsch is the best fucking Gretsch I've ever played in my life. And then I tried to like, what we would do at the guitar magazines is we just wouldn't send shit back.
Just hope that nobody noticed.
Yeah, you get like 1 notice, 2 notice. Sometimes they forget, or the person who sent it got fired, and then you get to keep it. I shouldn't be saying cut this out, but
are you saying you think you can keep it?
Yeah, but they came back for this, and like the discount price was still not acceptable.
Yeah,
it was crazy. But I'm telling you, if you ever see one of those,
that's the one.
That's the one.
I have a white Falcon. He built me a white Falcon a few years ago, and it's amazing. And I need to use that thing. It's so beautiful that it scares me to take it on the road. And even what I need to do is get a road case for it, because the case is so beautiful that I don't even want to get that scratched up. It's amazing. Like incredible attention to detail on those things.
You have to bring that. I think is the coolest looking guitar, the White Falcon.
Yeah.
Like
that's Johnny's favorite. My husband.
I mean,
the Cult Love Tour, right? That was
before that, it was Matthew, the guy from Bow Wow Wow, had one, and it was the same one as with the Baldwin, like wire tremolo. And then I saw the Cult on the Love Tour, and I was just like, I will have that. And Billy Duffy had the same with the same model, and then like 10 or 12 years ago, I walked into Main Drag in Brooklyn. I was like, there it is.
There it is.
You some guy, his grandmother. I'm like, what's up with that?
They don't usually have too many guitars there either.
They used to have a shitload. They totally. There's the old Main Drag.
Oh, okay.
And they're like, oh, some guy brought it in. His grandmother bought it for him, and so he had put it on consignment really cheap. And I lowballed it, and they called him, and he's like, yeah, he'll do it. And I got it for like $1,400 or something.
Good move.
Yeah.
If you send me your Stern Gretsch, I'll put in like some black fucking strap locks, and then you'll never worry about filing it again. And you'll be like, I'll take it on the road.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I'll just put some EMGs in there and just really get that thing road ready.
Look at ripping.
Kaler.
A Kaler.
Are you also doing the amp?
Well, I talked to Dave Freeman about that, and then I got to follow up with it. I would absolutely love to. I've been playing his amps for years, and they're just amazing. So that would be super fun to work on with him. He's obviously he's just like a super genius amp builder, and he built my current pedal board for me, and he knows tone.
You know what's really good, actually, oddly, is that new like sort of pedal thing he did.
Oh, I haven't messed with that yet. Yeah, I got to mess with that.
It's really good.
It's
weird. It's real. It's oddly, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, the technology on all those is so good nowadays. I mean, I'm using my Fender Tone Master Pro as we speak. I am on the wide eddy setting on my Tone Master Pro, so
wide
eddy. I figured that seemed like it would be appropriate for whatever we were going to do today.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on. You are I mean, I know you're a multi-podcast content creator, You're a heck of a guest too.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
This was really fun. I always say, man, I've been podcasting so much in the last, 10, 11 years. There's nothing I like more than being a guest on somebody else's show, because I don't have to think about it. I don't have to prepare questions. I don't have to research anything. I just show up. It's totally on you, and it's great. And by the way, you guys were great. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I just wanted
Awesome.
to, like, you're Brian Setzer walking the floor when he's talking about having to be on stage with the amps.
Yeah.
Completely changed how I kind of look about whether people should record in a control room or not in a control room, or like the whole, like, Brian Setzer's talking about how, like, he needs to be, the guitar needs to hear the amp, like his grab.
Yeah.
And that was like a very profound moment for me. So thanks.
Oh man, I tell you what, I tried to interview him for last year for my guitar show, and sadly, where he lives, the Wi-Fi it was so rough that even Riverside couldn't overcome the shaky Wi-Fi, and I have like 15 minutes of footage of Brian Setzer walking around his house going like, "Does this work?" And it'll work for a second and then glitch out, and then he's in like his attic. "Hey, is this working?" You know what I mean? Like, so we're gonna get that done at some point. That'll be great. I mean, he's like, again, he's up there with the best of the best, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah.
So
Totally.
cool.
Thank you so much.
Right
Yeah,
on.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Even though you like Dave's guitar better than
Well,
No, he gave the perfect.
mine. It was.
It's just occurring to me now, and now we
You
didn't,
know,
we didn't even talk Lost Kittens.
oh
We did.
man, now we're going deep. Now we're going
I
deep.
just learned about Lost Kittens today,
What's
and
how do you know about the Lost Kittens?
because I was briefed, Tom sent a picture without explanation, and I was like, "What?
I found your promo shot.
Who are these?
Epic. Yeah, great.
Who are
Great.
these fucking
Oh
guys?"
yeah.
He's like, "What the fuck is this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's good."
I'll send you some humdingers. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, if
amazing.
only my hair would do that at this age. Wouldn't that be great?
Can you play something to play us?
Oh,
out?
sure.
Can you
Yeah.
read us out?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Maybe a Lost Kitten song. There you go.
That's
Yeah. And this one's for Michael Schenker. What was it? Oh, now I fucked it all up. So you can't explain this shit. I'm expressing.
You're
Yeah, that's
expressing
right.
yourself.
That's right. All right, gang. Thank you.
See you,
See
man.
you later.